The CSA Innovation Network is a network of CSA organizations started in 2019. We represent nonprofit organizations, coalitions of farmers, research institutions, and a few regional government organizations. And we work to provide resources that help support the development and success of CSA, generally build awareness of the value of CSA and facilitate knowledge and idea sharing across the CSA community. A little bit about UK's voucher program. The University of Kentucky Office of Human Resources offers a health and wellness CSA voucher program to UK employees and retirees who are enrolled in UK health plans. Participants who opt into the program receive a $100 or $200 voucher for small and regular shares, respectively. And that's delivered to them in the form of a discount code to put towards the cost of a 20-week CSA share, 20+ week CSA share from participating local farms. We're working with 11 farms now. So early in the development of the program, we wanted to make it replicable for employers. So we partnered with the Organic Association of Kentucky to form the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition. Katie Harvey, who coordinates Kentucky Farm Share Coalition, is here today and will be on the sidelines and can answer any specific questions about that really crucial component of the CSA voucher program here at University of Kentucky. Without further ado, I'm going to start with asking Vanessa and Jody to introduce themselves, and we can get started. Maybe we'll start with Jody.
Sounds great. Hi, y'all. My name is Jody Ensman. I am the HR manager for the Health and Wellness program here at the University of Kentucky. I have been here at UK in this role for approximately 20 years. Prior to coming to the University of Kentucky, I was in corporate wellness, where I spent some time in the corporate world, Owens Corning, General Motors, both white collar and blue collar workplaces to deliver wellness opportunities for their employees. So I get the pleasure of currently providing the resources for faculty, staff, and spouses, as well as retirees of the university wellness programming that ranges from mental health, emotional health, and physical health, with a lens of prevention. So that is who I am and a little bit about my previous history.
And I'm Vanessa Oliver. I'm a registered dietitian with the UK Health and Wellness program. I've been at UK a little over 10 years now. I did come to this position and to being a dietitian in general as a second or fifth career. And one of those careers involved working for a local organic farm, 1 county north of us. And I worked for them for 10 years as well, doing all kinds of things.
Great, thank you. I wanted to ask, and you can kind of popcorn around between the two of you, but just to get the conversation started, what do you all think is the value of doing a voucher program with CSA as opposed to just offering a workplace CSA with no incentive?
Excellent. I'll go give it a first stab, Vanessa, and you can add on if you'd like to. So the value that I perceive from a director or manager perspective, with I view this with a lens of, strategically, how are we meeting the needs of the health and well-being needs of our employees? And it is not a new concept to provide incentives in the world of wellness and or subsidies. in years past, the history indicates that, we have utilized incentives in the form of health premium reductions or financial rewards to apply to doodads or whatsits or gifts and things as such, even fitness center subsidies. And so in order to utilize an incentive for a nutrition program is something that we had not ever done before. And so there has been a lot of research in the incentive world about its value and, does it increase engagement and what does that look like? And so when this opportunity presented itself, I feel like we were in line with the ability to provide a financial incentive to subsidize the cost of a CSA share. So I feel like we're removing some barriers to individuals in that financial realm to seek and or purchase produce, by which then we're hoping they'll consume, and with the byproducts of primarily being a little bit healthier lifestyles. So Vanessa, anything else to add to that?
I think also it's good to note that from the beginning of the program, we were interested in learning what kind of community building could happen with this program. Everything from when we were doing the initial CSA fair or lunch and learn or gathering in January, whatever you want to call it. And that has looked a few different ways, especially with the pandemic and how that affected programming. But we are also looking to create smaller communities within the program. So one way, and we'll talk about this, in a little bit, but one way might be through social media, one way might be through group chat, one way might be through cooking classes and demonstrations. And I know that Sarah and Tim have also been working with that with focus groups. And then of course the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition takes that step, not just with our workplace voucher program, but then also creating a larger community within here in Kentucky with people who are CSA members or who are interested in becoming CSA members. So it's like a really cool Venn diagram of interest in eating healthy, supporting local farms, and interacting with your workplace community.
Cool. I'm going to keep asking questions, but I again want to encourage folks to, we want this to be a conversation. So if you have questions, feel free to jump in. Our main agenda is to get your questions answered and to have as generative a conversation as possible. So I guess, could you talk a little bit about in what ways you engage with CSA voucher program participants? Specific programs or how you structure cooking classes for folks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can take that one, Jody, if you like.
That sounds great.
Okay. So yeah, I do a lot of the day-to-day sort of working more with the voucher users and CSA shareholders. And I'm not gonna lie, we have tried a lot of different things. The sorts of programming that we do now might look a little bit different from what we started in the beginning back in 2016, but the types of programming has remained a little bit constant. So we have some sort of introductory fair or lunch and learn, and that's going to be in the beginning of the year, usually January or February. We've done both virtual and in-person programming with that. Right now, for the last 3 years, we've done virtual because not only with the pandemic and concerns that go along with that, but we're really able to reach more people. University of Kentucky has employees in all 120 counties, and this is a way to, again, build that community and start building bridges in the beginning of the year. Plus, we're able to record that, so we're able to send it out to folks who can't attend live. That is a really nice opportunity, not only for people to learn what a CSA is, to learn what the voucher program is, but also to connect with their farms and farmers. either see their farmer again if they haven't seen them since the year before, or to meet new farms and new farmers and learn more about the shares that they offer. We also do have an Employees with CSA Share Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. Facebook has its positives and negatives for sure, but it is an opportunity, again, to build community, for people to get their questions answered. We've recently started utilizing the chat feature of the Facebook group, and that's been great because people are really just able to share recipes, storage tips, yeah, that's been a lot of fun just to sort of step back and watch people interact with that. We also will do bi-weekly emails during the CSA season. So that's roughly May through October here in Central Kentucky. And those bi-weekly emails will point people to our CSA blog that we maintain during that same time period. I write the blog. It has also had sort of different looks in the last years since 2016, but it's always going to include nutrition tips, recipes, quick things to do with the vegetables that are coming into season, as well as storage and prep tips and strategies. And then we do cooking demos. So the cooking demos occur monthly, again, during the CSA season. They have also looked different. We have done everything from virtual to live. We have done strictly demo to group participation. So it's more of a class. We have focused on looking at one meal at a time, looking at one vegetable at a time. We've had participants vote on what vegetable they want to see via Facebook. And we've also enjoyed collaborating with Kentucky Farm Share Coalition and another organization on campus called the Food Connection, which is a collaboration between the College of Agriculture and Dining Services. So we really try to hit a lot of touch points, and the cooking demos, I'd say, are, of all of those, with the fair, the two most successful ways that we engage with the voucher program participants.
Great. And I guess Tim was hoping to hear a little bit about the initial employee recruitment and promotion of the program.
Do you want to take that one, Jody, or do you want to start?
Sure, I could start. I mean, Tim, make sure I'm hitting the mark with the answer here, but
yeah, where I'm headed is, we started out, a lot of people didn't even know what CSA was. We've got thousands and thousands of employees, and how do you guys, through the health and wellness program, promote the program and then recruit? I know you guys have some amazing strategies and some networks and ways you've brought it to kind of complement some other things with the Eat Well program, for example, some other things you've already had in place with some of your wellness programs to complement. But maybe and it's an ongoing challenge, it feels, to continue to promote the program, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So there's always challenges in communicating all of our resources, not specifically just the CSA voucher program, but as far as some strategies, as Tim alluded to, is a lot of times from our perspective, we do share a lot of the resources with those who have already engaged with us in some way. More specifically in the nutrition realm, we have, Vanessa, as well as our other registered dietitian, meet one-on-one from a registered dietitian standpoint, providing consultations. We have an Eat Well membership. They do presentations. So they have quite a following, if you will, I suppose, that we can then, communicate and market the CSA voucher program to specifically. Of course, we always, our goal is to expand the knowledge of UK employees, because, you know, currently what we had approximately 750-ish employees and or retirees take advantage of this CSA voucher program this current year, and about over 800 last year. So, I mean, if you look at our main population, we have approximately 14 to 16,000 employees. So there's a lot of employees that we need to try to communicate this to and to educate. So it's always a challenge to communicate to the masses such as that. So, you know, we have different communication strategies as far as newsletters to all UK employees. As Vanessa alluded to, we have employees in all 120 counties. And so that newsletter goes to all employees across the state, as well as those locally here. And we have some electronic UK news articles and newsletters that also reach those same people that we try to engage and communicate with. Also, because this has become a standard benefit, if you will, to all UK employees, as well as retirees now, it is mentioned in their open enrollment benefit information. So that is just another way that we can share this being a benefit, a little b benefit, within the benefits office, because we do report into human resources and we do view ourselves as a benefit to employees. So it is also mentioned in those presentations to employees about benefits, as well as booklets associated with that. Anything else as far as strategies, Vanessa?
Yeah, I'd say the promotion of the CSA Fair through all of those avenues is really a large draw, not only because people are coming back from the holidays and they're kind of like, they got their head on, you know, ready to start the year, but we also offer a raffle for 4 full shares. And I think for people who attend the fair, and I'd say that recruits new and returning CSA folks. It's a big deal. You know, I mean, so that's definitely, I find, a large piece of the recruitment from year to year as well. And then, you know, the farmers, you know, I mean, they're going to be a piece of the recruitment as well, you know, because they know that the University of Kentucky is one of the main employers in Lexington as well as in the state of Kentucky. And if they're going to be able to make that connection, you know, then of course, not only are they going to be able to retain the customers that they have, but potentially draw in new ones.
Cool. Well, you talked a little bit about sort of how you provide employees the opportunity to meet and get to know farms before selecting, but from your perspective, what's the value of working with multiple farms? And can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Kentucky Farm Share Coalition?
You want me to take that one, or
Yeah,
Jody?
sure, go for it.
I mean, it's always good to have a choice, of course, you know, and I think that because we have so many people in so many different counties, and you know, coming from a Commonwealth state, right? Kentucky is very much about, I'm from this county. It's not about, I'm from this town. And so when they're able to meet with different farms from different areas, they are going to find, again, that feeling of connection, perhaps, with the different farms. And then also, I mean, I want to mention too that the University of Kentucky does have its own organic farming program. They also offer a CSA and are one of our partner farms as well. So we don't want to forget about talking about them too. But yeah, it's absolutely a value. You know, everyone brings a little bit something different to the table, whether someone offers customization or someone offers the ability to pause your share while you're on vacation, or someone has a really cute picture of a lamb on their website, you know, or like there are so many different reasons why people are going to start a relationship or continue a relationship with their CSA farmer. So this just broadens that scope. And then, of course, working with Kentucky Farm Share Coalition, and I hope Katie's going to talk too, just they bring the wealth and breadth of knowledge that it takes to be able to continue to run a workplace voucher program. We wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Mhm. Absolutely. I can expand a little bit too on the partnership with Kentucky Farm Share. From an administrative standpoint we are fortunate here at UK because we have Vanessa who has some time dedicated to the rollout and operational aspects of the program, but there might be some employers who don't have that point person. And the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition does a fabulous job of, I'll use a phrase, maybe a turnkey program where, it's less labor intensive for the wellness staff, perhaps, because administratively they are able to assist in that, the rollout and the operations. And, what I also appreciate the partnership with the Farm Share is that, they keep a pulse on the industry. They explore different opportunities and research, and they're always recruiting new farms, and there's always new opportunities on how can we best educate. And so it is a true partnership. I feel like with Vanessa's expertise in this area, as well as Kentucky Farm Share, I mean, I think we are positioned pretty nicely to be successful, and I feel like we have because of that.
Great, thanks. Another reminder to folks to jump in with questions if you have any, but I will keep going if you don't.
Okay, let's pause. Is there anybody out there who has a question? Let's pause. Come on. I know you have one.
Yeah, I think I have a big question. I guess I don't want to just jump and derail everything, but maybe just even think about it, or maybe we can connect later. So I think Garrett is on here as well from Michigan State. We've kind of been tasked as figuring out how we could get started with it, and coming up, we were given the idea of, come up with a 1 to 2 page of what do we need to do here to get things in play at Michigan State to make this happen. What are your thoughts on that? What does that look like? Or what are the important things that we need to take back to administrators to say about what do we need? Who do we need? Who's involved? How do we get all those pieces together? I don't know. That's a very, very broad question, but I don't know if there's any guidance and kind of steps to putting that together.
Yeah, that is a pretty big question, but hopefully we can shed some light on that. I mean, I don't know that I have all the answers, but I can share at least what worked for us at the University of Kentucky on how to establish that. I mean, thankfully we had an HR administration who was willing and open to the idea that was brought forth to us through Dr. Tim Woods and others. It started as a research project, and I think from an HR perspective, I think that was of value to them. It's hard to invest in something that has never really been done before. So we knew that, they had to start somewhere. So I think the fact that we were able to start via the research, not indicating that has to be that first step, but maybe it's a pilot program. I know from an HR pilots generally seem to be and work more positively than a full rollout of an initiative. Thankfully, I think high level here from an administration standpoint, the homework has been done, I feel like, from the research and presenting employers on the value. And a lot of times, are you coming from it with a wellness perspective, or
So I am part, I think my position is probably similar to you, Vanessa. I think Garrett works at an extension, but also involved with the CSA network as well. So kind of both sides of it,
I
guess,
see.
a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So from our perspective, from my perspective as the director and the manager, you know, and what my role is, I did know that we had to kind of share the research. You know, the research was, you know, return on investment. What kind of value would that have or impact would that have? So that speaks volume. And they did the research. You know, I'm sure they can drop it in the chat. It's out there. It's available. You probably already have it. So that spoke volumes, or can speak volumes, from an administrative standpoint. And, you know, thankfully, within UK, we just had, at the time, we had leadership who was willing to be somewhat innovative. You know, they took a risk, they took a chance, and I'm so forever grateful for that, because a lot of times, you know, you don't get that support, but I feel like, because we had that encouragement to be innovative, backed up by that. Now the research that is out there, not only from a financial perspective, but the health impacts on the employees. And then of course it goes beyond the health impacts of the employees. It goes into the community building, as Vanessa alluded to. So as much as you can provide up front the value on investment, and, you know, we can just list them out there, you know, we just did within, you know, 3, the financial value, the community value, the impact on the farm value, the health benefits value. You know, maybe it's just a conversation on that. Anything else, Vanessa, that comes to mind?
I think also a willingness and an understanding to know that you're not going to get it right the first time. I mean, truly, you know, the way that we thought the program was going to go from the beginning is not the way that it's going now. Mm-hmm. The audience that we thought was going to be our initial population did not happen, you know. So, and, you know, and we started working with the Farm Share Coalition in year 3 of the program, I believe. So, I mean, it's been an evolution. So I think first, maybe pinpointing, you know, where is your budget going to come from? Recognizing what is important to them. If not, ask, like, what do they want to see out of this program? And then, you know, I mean, you're also a land grant institution, I believe. So you have that history of bringing agricultural education, you know, and benefit to your population, maybe leaning on that. So I think some of those stepping stones that we have would be similar to where you are too, Abby.
Of course, I just want to add a little bit more to that too. Of course, from the wellness standpoint, you know, I approached it from the nutrition value of increasing and engaging or encouraging employees to eat more produce and vegetables. I mean, that's the angle that we took, you know, but there are many different angles that you can and should probably include in that approach as well. Great question, and happy to connect outside of this chat too, if it's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I suppose you probably will hear from us again.
Great, good.
Thank you. You know, Jody, you mentioned you work just for you're the human resources manager for the well-being. Is that right? So, okay. So you were active in the initial stages then too.
That's correct.
Okay. We have that in our department, and I wonder if that's valuable, probably pulling her into that piece as well to help plan budgeting wise. That might be
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, Tim and Jairus Rossi, the other researcher on the project, went to Jody once they had the data, because they were hoping, and please, Tim, stop me if I am speaking out of turn, that we could help them identify a population that would either most benefit from the data that they had found, or able to continue with researching using the data they found. And we, you know, are able to perhaps look at behaviors in a different way than a lot of other departments at the university. I think, is that a right thing to say, Jody? I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good, that's helpful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annie Laurie with Ohio University. We are looking to do something similar, just we're structuring it differently and trying to come up with unique ways to do it to avoid taxing the employees. I want to know if you've had any sort of pushback on the from the employees, like have there been frustrations about the taxation? Just don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, to my knowledge, there is no workaround regarding the taxation, especially if it's positioned as an employee benefit or gift or incentive. It is one of those taxation requirements that we just can't seem to get around. So I don't recall. I feel like if it was through a grant or the research, it's not necessarily taxed. Is that correct?
It's brutal. There's no way around it.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
We have tried and tried.
Yeah, it is brutal. So it is one thing that is definitely a barrier, I guess. I don't know that, and maybe I blocked it out, but I don't know that we've got a lot of pushback from the employees regarding that taxation. I think once we explained what the taxation was and why they're being taxed, it was a little easier to swallow, perhaps. But over time, I feel like it's not been as much of a barrier or a point of discussion. I don't know, Vanessa, you're more in line with all of the employees because you deal with the day-to-day, but.
Right, yeah. So I have heard or received some emails that are not as pleased with the taxation piece of it, but it is by far the minority. I mean, I can probably maybe like that many. Okay, so we are upfront with using that taxation language, not only on the program website, but also people do acknowledge that it is a taxable benefit when they claim the voucher and get the code. Now, that all being said, people often either don't read or don't remember. So we try to, well, we don't try to. In the last few years, we had noticed that maybe we received a little bit more pushback when the taxation didn't happen until after the end of the claim period, which is usually in the beginning of May. So what we started doing in the last couple of years was had two taxation periods. So for folks that claimed early, the benefit appeared on their pay stub sooner. So that way people who claimed the benefit in January, all of a sudden didn't get this taxation statement on their pay stub in May or June, was like, what, why, So that was one sort of very simple administrative piece that I feel like has tamped down a little bit of the protest.
Good call.
But it was not a lot, I should say, really not.
Just giving it a second. Could you tell us a little bit about kind of how you landed on the $200 or the same amount for every employee, and sort of the thinking behind all that?
It was based on Tim and Jairus's research.
Correct. So I default to the experts on how that was decided on the value of the voucher initially.
Highly scientific. It was the amount that they used at the program in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's right.
And so we thought, that sounds like a decent amount. But, it's you guys can maybe talk to this a little bit too. We have tried to do these feedback focus group kinds of conversations, surveys, postseason surveys, getting feedback from the employees and to adapt the program each year. And we heard fairly early on we had a lot of employees that they said, we're a single unit, individual household. We want a half share. Can we do it smaller? And so adapting to allow for a smaller share size that would allow for maybe a little bit less of a voucher, but still be much more accessible, both financially and scale, to a smaller household. And so there are definitely ways to tweak the program in terms of the amount of the voucher, I think.
Yeah, we only started off with the $200 voucher. That was in the research project, the pilot, and then the first year, I believe. And then after that, we received feedback that people don't want a large share if they're a single person or if they're the only person in their house who eats vegetables. So we were able to offer that $100 voucher, but still even offering that $100 voucher, just as an example, in this most recent voucher claim season, and Katie, please correct me, I believe the $200 voucher accounted for 75%-ish of voucher claims. Or voucher use, I'm sorry. So yeah, so $200, I mean, to be honest, financially, it's a better deal. But it's not a good deal if you're throwing vegetables away. So it is nice to be able to offer both size vouchers.
And I'll just jump in really quick in terms of like when we talk about voucher amounts for employers, we always encourage them to cover at least 25% of the cost, if not more. So just, you know, CSA share prices fluctuate around the nation. So if you're trying to find the right incentive amount, I would highly encourage you to look at like anywhere from 25 to 50, maybe upwards, you know, more depending on who you're trying to serve and your university population. But we do find that having the employee pay some portion, I know Tim talks about this a lot, is pretty critical for them to have some investment in the program themselves. When the employers are offering like a fully subsidized share, it's awesome. And we really like that. And it works well in certain cases, but oftentimes just as a standard benefit, it might not be as like, you know, they might not be using those vegetables, you know, they might be giving more of those away, or we hear more feedback about like it's going somewhere else, you know, so just like that investment and like the lifestyle change that we're hoping for is really good when they are paying some portion of the share in just a standard program. I think a lot of times in a research style program, the shares are normally covered. So it's like a different scenario, but just wanted to pipe in there and say that. And then I had one other question, just, I don't know, we talk about this, Jody and Vanessa, and I thought it might be helpful for everyone. I know UK offers the vouchers or incentives as like an open benefit. And Jody, you told me like you see, you know, there's value in keeping the healthy people healthy, you know, and just wondering, because I think sometimes that's a harder to articulate to employers. You know, sometimes employers are like, oh, well, they're doing good. You know, they don't need, like, why do you think, what would you say to another like wellness manager about offering it more openly to those that are interested or trying to target? Like, what would you recommend? You know, I don't know. What would you say if they're just trying to get started? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Something to consider definitely if you're rolling out. I do feel like it, you do need to better understand what the goal is of the program that you're wanting to implement, perhaps. Like, and Vanessa alluded to this too, is like, what is the population that you want to serve or target? So, you know, initially, you know, we did do some, well, I can't take credit for this. They did some research regarding targeting the high risk individuals from a health perspective. Because that was something that was important to us from a wellness perspective and an HR perspective in helping control the high risk individuals. You know, what the research indicated at the time, well, it was just hard. They were not, it was hard to measure, first and foremost, the changes in biometrics, but the utilization of an education around what a CSA is, and then having them to follow through on the purchase of a share utilizing the voucher with that particular population was a little bit more challenging than just in general. But Katie is right. You know, part of our wellness philosophy is to keep the well, and we try to include programming that addresses the whole health continuum, where you have the well, and then you have, you know, the sick and the chronic, and then of course those who expire. But in a wellness program, you know, we're primarily focused on that, keeping the well to the high risk individuals. So, you know, that's really something that you would want to consider trying to determine maybe upfront what that population is. And then anything else, Vanessa, on that?
No, I mean, this might be better for like a one-on, if someone has a specific question and we have a one-on-one, but we did attempt in the first year of the offering, before it was an open benefit, we had rounds
Yeah.
of emails and communication to people that we had been able to identify as having one or more health measures that were clinically indicated to be affected by diet and nutrition. And we did not have success with meeting the needs of that population at that time. The interest level just wasn't there. I don't know what would happen if we did it now, you know, but that's where we were at in 2015, 16, 17, you know, and so we really did take another look at what sorts of behavior changes can we affect with what population.
So now it's open to everybody, right? All
employees and retirees on a health plan.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
We did have, just for frame of reference, you know, it did start as a research and then a pilot, and then we had various iterations of this to get to that open benefit. So year after year, there were changes being made that helped evolve to get us to this open benefit.
I might be asking this question, maybe not correctly. I'm sorry, I'm asking another question. Actually, but is Kentucky self like health insured, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to consider as far as your employer and how your health plan is funded. If you are a self-funded health plan, that is definitely something that is beneficial, and it would help your cause for something like this because of it being self-funded. And one way to think about that is that those who are a part of your health plan are primarily, we're all in it together. Meaning the behaviors of one impacts the behaviors of others as it relates to the funding and the expenses of that health plan. So the healthier that health plan membership is, the better off for all those involved as far as your premiums are concerned. So it really is helpful to position it in that way from a self-funded health plan. So that's my only experience with a self-funded. So I can't speak to that of fully insured or other ways of funding health insurance, but it definitely is helpful. Is Michigan State self-funded? Is that where you're from, Abby? Sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, these are all great questions.
So, hi, I have a question. Do you have more to say about what the farmer can expect from the farmer's point of view? I guess like what incentives or what motivation was there, for the farmers to be involved and to extend that, service or that product to your audience?
Is that a Katie answer or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't feel qualified to answer that.
I can start, and then if you guys want to jump in terms of the benefits to the farm kind of usually is benefiting from these workplace CSA efforts because they're kind of reaching new customers, they're accessing new markets. It's kind of an extension of their like core CSA. So these are typically customers that are in that like secondary, tertiary, like CSA member, and they're kind of getting nudged into the CSA with this incentive, but they're definitely reaching new people, accessing new markets. The farms, UK currently has 11 farms partner. And so all the farms have a different range of share signups with the University of Kentucky, but they're definitely getting their name out there and some additional like marketing and recognition just for being part of this partnership. And then in terms of just like what UK requires to be a part of this partnership, and I can speak for the Farm Share Coalition because it's pretty similar. There's some differences, of course, but I think Sarah mentioned this, like the farms are offering like a 20-week CSA normally, or kind of right around that timeline or a little bit longer. They've been growing for CSA for a little while. And typically, there'll be an application process for that farm to get onboarded to work with the university. But yeah, those are kind of the main benefits. But let me know if you have any other specific questions in terms of like how to onboard a farm or reach out to farms or work with local coalitions to figure out what the supply is like for the program.
Okay, yeah, actually, I would love to talk about that more because I was thinking more of a co-op working with the program rather than just a single farmer. So is that something that's more common than, one farmer doing it by itself?
Great question. There's 2 multi-farm or CSAs that are a part of UK's program. So it's definitely something that's in the mix, and it's gotten more popular as CSA has gotten more popular, that farms aggregate product to create a share, and totally up to you all how you wanted to do it and like what if that's a good choice. It's still, a lot of customers like a multi-farm CSA because then they have a lot of choice with what's going into the share. We always try to drive home that connection and relationship with the farm, and sometimes the multi-farm CSAs, that storytelling is still there, right? They're still getting to know what the products are, and who's growing those products for the share. And depending on how many folks you're trying to serve, maybe it would be helpful if Jody, Tim, or Vanessa, I know when you guys started, you mentioned 100 shares, how many farms you worked with for that number of shares, in terms of how many you needed to identify to get started.
Yeah, so with that initial research project and offering, we worked with 5, if I'm remembering that correctly. It was a long time ago. 4, Katie thinks? Okay. So yeah, but they were all single farm CSAs. And as Katie mentioned, now that we have the 11 partner farms and 800-ish voucher users, 2 of our current partner farms are aggregated CSAs. And there are lots of ways to do an aggregated CSA, right? So I will say that the 2 farms that we are working with who are aggregated, there is the 1 point farm, and then they list what farms they work with to source additional products with on their own website. And then from our perspective, we do list that they aggregate farms, but we don't say which ones on our website. So it is up to the consumer to learn that information.
Awesome. I totally understood that.
Okay, well, we've got about 7 minutes left. And I don't want to take up any space if folks have questions, but I also was curious if you all could speak a little bit to the like logistical side of things, what the timeline is in terms of your communication with Kentucky Farm Share Coalition and with employees. How does the voucher make its way to employees, and how do they spend the money for the farm, and sort of how does that work?
Okay, so we work with Kentucky Farm Share Coalition all year. I mean, it's a 12-month really situation. So we're lucky that we all like working together. But the planning, oh gosh, where should we start? The planning to see who the partner farms are. That maybe we start there. That can happen all year round, but when we first started expanding the program to include farms that were not in the coalition, we started to
Looks like Vanessa's having some
proposal.
Oh. She's having some technical difficulty, I see, but she may not realize it. Vanessa, if you can hear me. Let's see if she can. Trying to reach out to Vanessa here just to see if she can log off and then maybe log back on. Sometimes that works. There she goes.
Yeah, and I can jump in just really quickly while she's logging back on, just for reference on everybody on the call. The coalition, one of our requirements is to be an active transition or certified organic. And so when Vanessa was mentioning it, it's like just wanting to open that up to farms outside of that requirement. And so that was kind of one of the reasons, just to reach more farms, impact more farms, so like every university can kind of decide what the requirements are. And it's really good to reach out to farms prior to like late fall. I think Jody, like you guys opened your application up to those kind of expanded farms outside of the coalition in like maybe August, September, October. So it's great to have this call in June, because really the farms are going to be thinking about what they're going to grow next year, like in early fall, right? And so getting those conversations in right now from like summer to early fall is really critical. It's like hard to have a conversation with a farmer and even in January, just because it's like already almost rolling for those farm conversations. And I don't know, Jody, when the application was due for those expansion farms for UK, but pretty much wrapped up by October, right?
Yeah, and I think this year the goal is to be a little earlier than that. So I think in an ideal world, we're wanting to have all of the established farms that we want to be a part of the program, early fall at the latest, because in latter part of December, we need to finalize exactly what farms are participating and all of the specifics about the farms. And we generally have a communication that goes out to our employees, like a sneak peek into what farms in the program is in late December, because in early January is when we open up this benefit with the CSA fair, where they can meet all the partner farms. And then we establish the when people can claim their vouchers that same day in January. So I mean, it's a pretty, the timeline is it's established in a way that it has worked for us, where we need to have everything solidified by late December in order to push out in early January.
Yeah. And UK employees can claim vouchers and use those incentives from kind of mid-January through early May. And we really try to push that rollout in January, February. So these voucher members have first access to CSA shares. So there's no concerns with like supply of shares. So they have kind of first signups there, or And then they also just have a lot of time. If the farms require a payment upfront ahead of the season, then they have a lot of time to make payments on a share for whatever portion they're paying. So there's definitely some reasons to want to do that sign up a little bit earlier, prior to, like, most of the farms start in Kentucky around in May for their seasons. So, Vanessa, you're back.
Not really sure what happened, but my internet decided to crack out in the middle of a sentence, so that's great. Yeah, I'm sure you answered the question better than I could have.
No, you're great. We handled the timeline. We got the sign up timeline, but and I know we're close to time, so we can kick it back to Sarah. If anyone has specific questions about timeline stuff, I mean, feel free to jump in.
Okay. Well, thank you all for a great conversation. Thank you, Jody and Vanessa, for sharing your expertise, and Katie, you too. Yeah, I guess I will send the recording to folks. Please share it with anyone who you know who might be interested. There's a very, very short 2-question survey at the end of this. Please fill it out. It's super helpful for us to know how to improve these in the future. And again, reach out if you have any questions or need help connecting with any of these experts that we've been talking to in these conversations. I'd be so happy to connect you. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks. Good to see y'all.